Hi, I'm Dan Satterberg, King County Prosecuting Attorney, and welcome to the Prosecuting Attorney's Data Dashboard. We're very excited to roll this out to the community that we serve. The numbers here will show you what we do, how hard the people in my office are working to do justice in King County every day. You know, often the criminal justice system is considered to be a black hole where decisions are made, where things happen and nobody knows about it. Well, in the interest of transparency and accountability, we offer you the full dashboard today that shows exactly what we do, where our priorities are, and also reveals some of the impacts of the last year of the COVID lockdown. This dashboard is interactive, so you can search it. You can learn from it like I have, and please let us know what you think. It is a work in progress, a project of continuous improvement. And I want to thank the people in my office. It was a big team that put this together, but particularly David Baker, Senior Deputy Prosecutor, who was able to take the information from our case management system and make it understandable to all of us. So please dig into the dashboard, find out what your prosecuting attorney's office is doing for you, and let us know what you think. Thank you.
Hello, my name is David Baker. I am the Data Analytics Manager and a Senior Deputy Prosecuting Attorney at the King County Prosecuting Attorney's Office. And I'm here to give you an introduction into our new public data dashboard. This dashboard is intended to, at least at first, provide everyone with a view into what is going on with felony crimes in King County, Washington. It is set to start just with felony crimes because felonies are the most serious type of crime that can be charged in the state of Washington. And the King County Prosecuting Attorney's Office handles just about all felonies that occur within King County, Washington. So by looking at this set of data, you can get a good sense of all of the most serious crimes that are being referred and filed in King County. There are, at other levels, lower level offenses, misdemeanors, different agencies, municipal and city-based agencies that handle cases, but for felonies, pretty much all of them are handled by the King County Prosecuting Attorney's Office. This dashboard is meant to be a work in progress that we intend to add more data to and more in-depth analysis over time. We are really looking forward to incorporating community feedback and suggestions, so please take the time to let us know your thoughts at the email address that's included on the website. The dashboard consists of an interactive visual that we'll go over in a moment, and then a number of different sections that pop out to provide detailed explanation of different aspects of the dashboard. Now, this is important because the criminal justice system in Washington and in the United States in general is very complex. And really understanding it requires in-depth explanation of different parts of the process. And each jurisdiction is different. So if you were to go to a different state, say Oregon or Idaho or California, the process would not be the same. These explanations and processes are unique to our state and in particular to King County and what the King County Prosecuting Attorney's Office has decided to do. So in developing the data dashboard, we have kept in mind and been guided by a set of principles that we've tried to put in place behind everything we're looking at here. And we kept those to try and give you a sense of our goals and ideals and how we're moving forward. And those four main principles are transparency, accountability, effectiveness, and reform. Transparency is really important, particularly in the criminal justice system, because of how complex and misunderstood it is. We really believe it's important to get out real data about what is actually going on and accurate descriptions about how the process works. If we're really going to get into accountability, effectiveness, or reform, we have to have accurate information about how it works and what is actually occurring. And that goes directly through all of these sections. Accountability. If we're going to be accountable and really understand what it means to do justice, we have to put out accurate information with accurate explanations of what is happening in the criminal justice system and how our actions are impacting and changing what is happening. For effectiveness, if we're really going to understand what works in the criminal justice system, what is an effective program to reduce recidivism, to better our communities in general, we have to have good data on what is going on and what the effects of our actions are. And finally, reform. Reform is an ideal that we have and we hold dear, but we want to make sure that the reform we are introducing are actually improving the situation. And part of that means tracking what is going on, keeping data about it, and publishing that so we can all understand the impacts of the work that we have done. So when we're looking at the dashboard, you see a number of things, a number of categories with little plus markers to the sides of them. Those are expandable sections that provide detailed explanations. They occur throughout the document. There are a few different ones to keep in mind. The two at the top provide you an outline of the guiding principles around which we develop the dashboard and the basic process of a case through the criminal justice system. Both of these things are very important to understand just as a general overview because one, how you set up a dashboard and the principles on which you build it is a really important foundation. And then two, because there are a lot of misconceptions out there about how a case progresses through the criminal justice system, and it can vary substantially by the jurisdiction you're in. Below that initial section is the actual dashboard itself, which is a fully interactive visual with buttons that we will go over in a minute. There's all sorts of different bits of information in there. And then below that is a whole glossary of terms and additional explanations of different stages of the cases and processes and how the King County Prosecuting Attorney's Office is organized. All of these pop open just by clicking on them. So if you wanted to know more about open cases, you could just click on open cases and an explanation of what an open case is would appear. If you want to know about referrals, you could simply click on that and an explanation of what a referral is appears there. And each of these different areas or buttons here that pop out with explanations provides different information for you about different aspects of a case. The dashboard itself is a fully interactive visual. You saw there how things pop up. If you hover over or click on different elements within the visuals, additional information will pop up. Almost everything in here is interactive. So if you click on something, you will likely see a pop-up. If you hover over something, you will likely see a pop-up. Whenever you see boxes, those are check marks, and you can filter what you're seeing by those options. So for instance, if I wanted to see open cases that were domestic violence related, I could click on the checkbox for domestic violence, and it would filter the view, and you'd see the y-axis changes. It's no longer 6,000 at the top, it maxes out around 800. And the whole visual itself changes. So now you're only seeing open domestic violence cases over time. And you can select multiple at a time or individuals, and there's a select all button if you want to go back through it. Along the top is a set of different buttons that navigates to different areas of the dashboard. We have, as you can see, 7 different sort of general areas that we're starting with. This is something that we could expand in the future, and we do intend to expand. We have a section for open cases, for felony referrals, which is when the police send us a case to review. It's important to keep in mind that we're not an investigative agency. The police do all criminal investigations. They send us the investigations, and we at the King County Prosecutor's Office review them to determine whether or not it's appropriate to file charges. For the decline section, this is cases where we've determined that we are not going to file charges. This is often because we can't prove a case beyond a reasonable doubt to a jury, but there are other reasons a case can be declined, which are detailed in the decline section, the glossary, and our filing and disposition standards. Some of the other reasons are that it was never intended to be filed in the first place. The police just wanted our eyes on it, or that it is not serious enough to be filed as a felony. There's filings, which are cases that are filed into King County Superior Court. In Washington, all felonies are filed into the Superior Courts. Dispositions, which are case resolutions that can be resolved by, say, a plea or a dismissal or a trial of some sort. A historical summary going back through 2009, showing sort of an overview of what has been going on as far as cases filed in Superior Court since then. And a section on demographic information. These different tabs in here are actually buttons. So if you click on them, it'll navigate to the next section. So for felony referrals, I can click on that, and it takes me to the felony referrals section. In these, you can see the number of referrals we have received for felony cases each month, starting in January 2019 and going through the present. As we move forward, this data will be updated monthly for new information. So sometime once we get into April, the March data will be added. When we get into May, the April data will be added, and so forth going forward. This is also interactive, as the other sheet is, as the other pages are. They all are. You can see here the date and the number of cases referred when I hover over a particular bar. I can see a different view by clicking on this analysis by unit button, which gives you a stacked bar graph showing different sections. So this is the homicide and violent crime unit. If you go above that, you can see the felony trial unit. And above that, we have drug cases referred, economic crimes unit cases referred, and all of these have a pop-up associated with them with different information. You can also click on the filters on the side to see specific details about a specific unit. For instance, if you're interested in hate crimes, you could click on the hate crimes button and you would see just the hate crime referrals during that time period. Declines functions in the same way. You have a range of declines. There are different types of declines: a standard decline, a referral to municipal or district court, statutory referrals, which are cases that are just sent in for review. No charges are ever intended to be filed, and drug cases under 1 gram. You can see those by unit along with requests for more information. You can also look at that by type in the sort of stacked bar graph view. In most of these sections, you will see a typical expected range that we've put in place. We show an average for the time period along with a typical expected range, a low and a high. We include this because there is not typically much seasonality in criminal justice data, which means that we don't always receive more cases in July than we do in June, or winter doesn't necessarily mean a slowdown in referrals or filings. There are a lot of other factors that impact what cases are referred to the King County Prosecutor's Office and what cases are filing. And what that results in over time is sort of a wide range of what we typically expect to see. And so there are lots of reasons that the range can go up and down, but it's important to note that anything within a large range of numbers, in this case, from 364 to 643, is considered a totally normal occurrence. We wouldn't be surprised by that. Even here, you can see in June of 2020, we had a really low month of filings. It was low compared to the average, but it's still not totally, beyond what is unexpected. It's just sort of just below that line there. It's not, incredibly low down here or something like that. So you might suspect that something was going on in June of 2020, and that's sort of part of the height of the COVID-19 related shutdowns, but it's not, a totally unknown occurrence. Filings, in addition to having breakdowns by units, also has ability to filter by crime category that's filed. So you can look in here and click on this, and a filter box will pop up allowing you to filter by different types of filings: drug cases, violent and endangerment, special assault cases, economic offenses, murder and homicide. And that will adjust your view to those particular types. This also has an analysis by unit section, and you can filter both by units and the crime types in here. Dispositions is set up a little bit differently, more akin to the open cases than the others, and that's because there's been a really dramatic change in dispositions since the COVID-19 related shutdowns. Here, as with the open cases section, we have a green line indicating the average number of dispositions for the pre-COVID time period, basically January of 2019 through February, March of 2020. At that point, the COVID-19 related shutdowns really began to affect the criminal justice system, and we started to see a really reduced number of dispositions. And what you see is that everything post-March of 2020 is well below our historical average. Now, this is a problem for the criminal justice system because new crimes have continued to be committed, but the crimes in the system are not being resolved. Those cases are staying open. And every month we're below this green line, means that there are more cases in the system than are getting out of the system through resolution. This section also allows you to view different types of dispositions. You can see cases that are resolved by a plea, cases that are resolved by dismissal, cases that are resolved by a bench trial, and cases resolved by a jury trial. You can also look at the different units and look at combinations of different units and types of resolutions. It's important to keep in mind that COVID-19 has really impacted the types of resolutions you see. And we categorize these resolutions in a very particular way. So you should take the time to look at the explanations of dispositions in the glossary below. They are very specific into how we count things. And for various reasons, including incentives on attorneys, we don't track the specific outcome of jury trials. We don't want to excessively encourage or pressure our attorneys to seek a conviction. The attorney's job is to seek the just result, regardless of the outcome of the trial. The historical summary was put together in partnership with the King County Superior Court's Department of Judicial Administration, which is also known as the Clerk's Office. They were kind enough to share detailed information going back through 2009. This allows you to see over time the number of cases that have been filed in the King County Superior Court, the average during that time period, and then the different categories of crimes that have been filed over time as reported by the King County Superior Court. Their categories are a little bit different than the way the prosecutor's office looks at them. And that goes back to a number of historical and statewide requirements that the court is bound to that limits the sort of nuance of the reporting they're allowed to do in that sense. At the prosecutor's office, we have the ability and sort of flexibility to look at cases with a little more nuance and in different categories. You know, the obvious thing you'll notice is that in the court's categories, there's no category for domestic violence. There's no category for hate crimes. Things like that are missing. But it does give you a valuable sense of different types of crimes and their prevalence over time. For instance, if we were to look at drug cases, you can see that since 2009, the number of drug cases that have been filed in the King County Superior Courts has generally declined. If you were to look at assaults, you can see that it's been pretty steady with a slight increase in 2019 and 2020. And you could include homicides and robbery cases as well, or just different segments of them. The demographic section is interesting and included really because of the importance of understanding the community that we serve, both as far as defendants and victims in cases, and being able to better reflect and provide services to all of them. The demographics section has a number of subsections. It has the main page breaking down race and ethnicity of defendants and has a sort of a detailed explanation of what's going on here. It has a section about the path to better race and ethnicity data. There are a lot of problems with race and ethnicity data within the criminal justice system. Those are sort of discussed in detail here, but the prosecutor's office has been committed to finding a better way to collect, understand, and analyze race and ethnicity data in the criminal justice system. We have already begun that process and have partnered with the Urban Indian Health Institute to really revamp and modernize how we collect and look at race and ethnicity data in the criminal justice system. It's a partnership we're very excited about, and links to some of their work are included within this webpage. There's also breakdowns of age and gender information for defendants, and then finally a breakdown of demographic information for victims in the criminal justice system. You'll notice that the limitations of race, ethnicity, and other demographic information is most pronounced in the victim data. And there's a number of reasons why that's the case. Typically, and most importantly, is sporadic reporting, and then also just issues with how it's collected to begin with. The dashboard is available both online through your computer and on your mobile device. I hope you take the time to explore and examine each of the different subsets of what's going on here. If you have any questions or comments, we would love your feedback, and please send us an email if you do.